Okay, so hello to whoever is listening. This is Black Pen, and this is the visual demonstration of the what if question. So, yeah, now if you read the previous post, you understand a bit what if questions are. What if questions are questions that you ask yourself to stimulate your own mind in order to generate ideas. Now, I'm going to be doing a visual demonstration of what if questions. Now, if you have been reading stories before now, and when I mean stories, I mean stories like stories on good novel, mega novel, high novel, and the rest web fiction sites. If you have been reading stories there, this video will be easier for you to assimilate. But if you have not, then I suggest you read stories because you would need the knowledge to understand a bit of what I'll be saying. Now, the idea of a what if question is to stimulate your brain, as I said, stimulate your own mind to generate ideas. So, but there are three steps you need to follow in writing every what if question. Now, I'm going to pen this down. So, what if question. Now, I'm going to pen down the three steps. Step one is think in the direction of a genre you're familiar with. Think in direction of a genre you are familiar with. Step two is work one or two tropes into the question. Then step three is end it with a cliffhanger. End it with a cliffhanger and outline the subsequent conflicts. Now, these three steps are what you need to follow in writing every what if question. Don't worry, I will show the demonstration. You will see exactly what I'm talking about. So, step one is think in the direction of a genre you're familiar with. Step two is work one or two tropes into the question. Step three is end it with a cliffhanger and outline the subsequent conflicts. Now, let's begin from step one. Thinking in direction of a genre you're familiar with. Now, the genre I'm familiar with may not be the genre you're familiar with. So it is a personalized thing. But for this demonstration, I will use the genre I'm familiar with. Now, I've been into ghostwriting for a while, and my favorite genres are mafia romance and billionaire romance. So I will go with both of them. I will do a what if question for mafia romance, and I will do a what if question for billionaire romance. Note that the idea of this entire demonstration is to show you how you can generate ideas spontaneously for your stories. All right. This is for those of you who don't want to hire ghostwriters anymore or who have trouble generating ideas for yourself. Now, we said step one is thinking in the direction of a genre you're familiar with, and I've told you I will go in with mafia romance and billionaire romance, but I'll start with mafia romance first. Now, the reason I said you need to have read stories before now is stories give birth to stories. You need to read one of my posts before now. I think this the 2 posts ago on this page. I said stories give birth to stories. If you have been reading mafia romance stories on these sites, your brain has automatically been attuned to mafia romance stories. So it will not be difficult for you because these stories are all cliche, right? So all you need to do is get a cliche. There's all the cliches are like every story is cliche, mafia romance cliche, billionaire romance cliche. But it's just a few twists in your own creativity that will make your story unique. So now I'm going to go with a very general, or should I say, a very derived story idea for my own. Now, so I'm going to start the question now. What if? Note that this what if has to be there because it's a what if question because you're stimulating your own mind. So, what if when you ask yourself what if and then you think in the direction of the genre, your mind go back to all the stories you have read before and your mind will automatically create an alternative story to the ones you've written. So now let's go. What if a if you're done. I'm just doing this spontaneously because I have read stories, because I've written stories before now. in this genre. A rival family only to fall in love with this rival leader's daughter. Then what if fulfills a family obligation as a compensation for sparing her father? Now, we've gotten here. What if a mafia don goes on a mission to eliminate the leader of a rival family only to fall in love with this rival leader's daughter? We need to put a question mark here. Then we say, what if he decides to marry her by force? Like he falls in love with her and is like, okay, instead of killing you guys, I will take this woman and I will marry her. If you don't let me take this woman, I will kill all of you. You get that drift, right? So if to fulfill his own family obligation in the sense that every mafia don needs to be married, right? So what if he's not unmarried, but then he needs a wife and he finds this woman and says, okay, this woman will be the wife he will take. And then he says, in return for letting me have her, I will not kill you guys. You get, so they trade the lady. Then we say, but what if? Remember, what if is a what if question? What if question? So what if has to come because you're trying to stimulate your own mind. What if on the wedding day the bride is kidnapped? Now, if you look at this is a what if question. I've already created a what if question from my own mind. Now, let's see. I said there are 3 rules, right? So let's see if I follow the 3 rules. Number one, I said think in the direction of a genre you're familiar with. We are writing a mafia romance story. So this idea here is a mafia romance idea. So we have fulfilled step one. Step two says work 1 or 2 tropes into the question. Now, let's check. Have we worked any tropes into this? Have we worked any tropes into this? Now let's look. We said the mafia don went on a mission to eliminate the leader of a rival family. It means that the family of the female lead and the family of the mafia don are enemies, right? So, number one trope that we have worked in is enemies to lovers. Why enemies to lovers? Because we all know how these stories go. They start out as hating each other. The lady will not want to talk to him. Even when she marries him, she will be distant. They will be distant from each other. But then at one point in time, a conflict, a twist will cause them to bond. You get? So already we have set the tone for the trope enemies to lovers. Right? Because we already said the arrivals, but now they're getting married. If people are getting married, then over time, the cliche is that over time, they will bond. So that's enemies to lovers. So that's the first trope we have included. We have managed to work into the story. Then the second trope, let's read the story again. I said, what if a mafia don goes on a mission to eliminate the leader of a rival family only to fall in love with this rival leader's daughter? Then what if he decides to marry her by force? By force. What if he decides to marry her by force? So we have worked in the second trope, forced marriage. So okay, we have fulfilled the second rule of what if question. Or fulfill the second rule. Now, the third rule says end it with a cliffhanger and outline the subsequent conflicts. Now, we have ended with a cliffhanger, quite alright, by saying, what if on the wedding day, the bride is kidnapped? But we have not outlined the subsequent conflicts. So let's outline the subsequent conflicts. Subsequent conflicts. So, number one, We'll pick it all from the story, all from this question that we're written here. Subsequent conflict says, number 1, who kidnapped the bride? Because that's the first big question. You say if the bride was kidnapped on the wedding day, then who kidnapped the bride? Is it another rival family? Is it her own family that kidnapped her to have her back? Is it an enemy of the mafia don from within his own family? Who kidnapped the bride? Then, number 2 is why? Why was the bride kidnapped? Yes, we can find out who kidnapped the bride, but we still need to know why. So these are the 2 subsequent conflicts, right? These are the 2 subsequent conflicts. Then the 3rd subsequent conflict is, what does the male lead do at this point? Does he do all he can to find her? Or does he find another bride? Because remember, he has to fulfill the family obligation. So we can say there's a timeline on that. That if he does not fulfill the obligation, he will lose his seat as done. So this woman who he just met, remember, he has fallen for her. Though they are still enemies in quote, but he has fallen for her. So does he go all out to find her, or does he find another bride? These are the 3 immediate or subsequent conflicts we can find from these sorts of questions. So already you can see that just like this, we have gotten an idea.